You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Radio Show, only on Financial News and Talk. Now live in studio, your host, local and national real estate expert and consumer advocate, Ron Siegel.
And hello again. Welcome to Ron Siegel Radio. This is the show with no real boundaries. As we discuss current events, financial markets, politics, sports, even poking fun at the rest of the media. This is the show that connects the dots of confusion delivered by conflicting media reports. We connect the dots so you know the actions you can take out your family or business can benefit from current events. Most of all, thank you for joining me. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day. We have a very focused show. We only chat about items that affect the roof over your head, your bank account, and anything I feel would benefit you. But before we get into our intriguing content today, please join me in welcoming our featured guest and repeat offender. Welcome back, Todd Halterman. How are you, my friend?
Just strolling down the hallways of nostalgia, baby.
Yeah, that's an old one. Hey, let me remind you, if you ever have any home or finance-related questions, I am the consumer advocate looking out for you. And you can reach out to me directly, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Just remember, that's the number you call anytime for assistance. When you call that number, it comes directly to me first. There are operators standing by.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Well, I do have a great team when it comes to developing a financing plan or plan to save you money. I personally work with you even if you don't have any needs today. Save this number in your phone for future reference, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And yes, we're going to celebrate in a more normal fashion today. Yesterday, you could tell that the B team was running the board here yesterday. Thankfully, we've got Josh back running the ship. So we're going to celebrate. What do we have here? I know we've got Alaska Day. Okay, if you're a fisherman, I guess, we don't get to get oil in Alaska anymore. We don't like that idea. We'd rather have high oil prices. But I digest. National Logistics Day. So I used to be in that business, so I understand logistics pretty well. I could even figure out how to get baby formula to the U.S. It'd be a lot quicker, probably be a lot cheaper too. But I digress. National Insurance Awareness Day. Okay, I like that one. We've been talking to a lot of insurance agents lately. Trying to understand insurance. There's a lot of differences in insurance that you have to really be careful of. I was talking to I think it's called a property and casualty insurance agent last week or 2 weeks ago. And you're looking at what has happened in home values lately and inflation. Have you had an insurance checkup to see if you're insured properly? How about on your car? I mean, car prices have gone up dramatically. Have you talked to your insurance agent to see if your coverages are in line with what you need them to be? Just a thought for you. Life insurance, don't let your life insurance lapse, even though we've got high inflation. We've got solutions for you for that. We've got that Borrow Smart checkup that we can help with on that front. But having beaten anorexia, you can probably guess that I might have to roll the clock back on June because I just found out. I don't know, Todd, I don't know if you knew this one. June is National Candy Month. And those right there, if you're watching us on RonSiegelRadio.tv, any of our socials, or ABC News and Talk, AM 1490 video feed, there's your top-selling candies in the U.S. Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. I like that one. M&M's. Can't go wrong there. Plain peanut butter. Like them all. Kit Kat. Oh, no, Snickers. That's another one of my favorites. Okay, I like that one as well. Then we've got Kit Kat, Twix, Skittles. Wasn't that a Seattle football player that was the king of Skittles at one time? The running back, I think.
Marshawn Lynch.
Marshawn Lynch. There you go. Okay, and we've got, what else do we have here? We've got Twizzlers. Okay. Dove chocolate. Yeah, it's usually dark chocolate, not my favorite. Three Musketeers. Starbursts. Okay. Hershey's Kisses. Okay. I guess if you go with just the top 4 that are generally right around my desk at any given time, that's probably good enough. What's your favorite on there, Todd? Or do you have a favorite on there?
I'm an M&M guy all the way.
M&M, plain or peanut?
I'm a peanut guy.
Peanut guy. Okay. Alex, what's your favorite? Tell us which is your. Alex is just checking in with us, letting us know he's here. Usually by the time he types it, I'm here, he's gone. But favorite candy, Alex? Do you have one? You're going to share it with us? Or you're going to keep it a secret? Just throw it there in the chat. Anybody else, if you throw it in the chat, StreamYard.com/Facebook. You can go to StreamYard.com/Facebook. Let us know who you are. Let us know what your favorite candy is, being that we are in National Candy Month. And I'm going to move right along while we see what Alex has to say there. Let's take a look at the markets. Dow Jones Industrial Average now down 200 points. When I walked into the studio, we were up 200. Now we're down 200. S&P's down 45. NASDAQ is down 234. The only thing that I see on the first page here that's green is the one that's the most painful. That would be oil, up $1.21 a barrel. That's not pleasant, but we're going to look at it. I know we've got to. I didn't do it yesterday. Gasoline right here in the formerly gold. Maybe I did. Formerly Golden State, $6.31 a gallon. Josh, you're at $5.58. Jody's at $5.28. Lori's over there at $4.43. Todd, we in Idaho or Washington today?
I'm in Idaho.
Idaho, $5.21. So not as good as everywhere, but better than us here in California. Let's move right along and see what else is on our misery index. I saw that consumer confidence came in today. Not very confident. We're below the chocolate M&Ms. Is there anything other than chocolate M&Ms, Alex? I don't know if there's anything other than chocolate M&Ms. So I guess that must be the plain ones. Okay. So watching some of the numbers that came out today, I've got a number that came out that was really startling to me. Not surprising, but startling. Todd, you might check this one because it's going to be more accurate in your neighborhoods than mine, just because in America, the property values are a little bit cheaper than they are here in Orange County. Based on a median home price, the median mortgage right now is up $513 since the beginning of the year. $513. So if you went and bought a median home in was it January, you're paying $513 more if you're buying the same median home right now. $1,897 a month for that median home price. That's painful. There's a lot of folks that, that's just not doable, and they're starting to have to either look outside their budget, or they're having to, put their purchasing desires on hold, or maybe they're having to look for a cheaper house. But just remember, if you call our team, we've got the payment assistance program. Now, if you were with us yesterday, you know that I actually went through a scenario yesterday where we were showing a property that's right here in North Orange County, and we were able to demonstrate how through the payment assistance program, no extra cost to the seller, minimal extra cost to the buyer short term, saves the buyer $673 a month. Now, what would that do for somebody's budget, saving $673 a month? If you missed it, give me a call, 800-306-1990. I can send you a copy, or just send us an email, rj@ronsiegelradio.com. You can put a comment in, and we'll get you a copy of the presentation that I actually walked through yesterday, because over the life of that loan, it saves almost $250,000. Now, I'm venturing to guess at $670-something a month. If you sent that to a great financial advisor like Todd Halterman, they could put that to work for you. And not only would you save about $250,000 over the life of the loan, that money going to work for you would turn into a significant amount of money over the next 20, 30 years. Don't know the exact numbers. There are no guarantees. Just throwing that out there. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate. current events, and the financial markets. Borrowing smart. We're going to talk to Todd Halterman about that. A key opportunity for home buyers. We'll chat about that. 5 ways to cope with inflation. All that and more. You can reach me anytime. Our off-air number 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com, facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube. Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio, your home and mortgage connection.
Is your budget getting blown up with high prices of gas and increased costs for other household needs? This is Ron Siegel, host of the daily home and finance radio program. Did you know if you have a low interest rate mortgage along with auto debt, credit card debt, or student loans, your family could potentially save $500 or more per month by restructuring these debts? If you'd like a free Borrow Smart analysis with our team, let's book an appointment to see how we might be able to relieve some stress. Schedule your appointment at rsrbsa.com. That's rsrbsa.com for your free Borrow Smart analysis. rsrbsa.com.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions, as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message. And I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The Mortgage Minute today being brought to you by our friends at Geneva Financial. When you're ready for that next home loan, Geneva's got the programs and the products. You just need to make the call, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. S&P 500 now down 46.61, 46.61. 10-year Treasury, basically it's flat this morning. Mortgage-backed securities down 5 basis points, means interest rates are up ever so slightly. And as you know, OBMMI provides the most comprehensive, accurate, timely, and interactive analysis of pricing ever conducted in the mortgage industry, calculated from actual locked rates with consumers across 35% of all mortgage transactions nationwide. 30-year mortgage, 5.90 is where they locked at yesterday. 30-year jumbo, 5.282. 30-year FHA, 5.684. And the best loan on the market for those who earned it, the VA loan, 5.457. But as you know, all those numbers are easily found on that super secret website. That would be google.com. What's driving all of this? Well, you know there's going to be either we're in a recession or there's one on the horizon. We've talked about that. Chapman University told us that there's one on when their forecast update on last Thursday. So we know it's coming. But, you know, there's a big problem here. According to the Federal Reserve, it's not coming. They don't see one. But I'm not sure a Federal Reserve has ever seen a recession coming, even right before the Great Recession. They were telling everybody, there's not going to be a recession. But, you know, it is the Federal Reserve. So this morning, we've got Fed President John Williams. So he's one of the top 3 guys at the Federal Reserve. Spoke on CNBC and said he expects growth to slow, but does not see a recession. Really. The Fed will never admit this, but the Fed's plans to continue to hike rates and slow down the economy. There's something called the neutral rate. I'm not going to get into the weeds on it. Basically, we need to get the Fed funds discount rate to between 3 and 3.5%, and to see maybe a decline by about 3% in inflation. They're using the core rate. That way it's easier for them to deal with. I just throw that out there. They use core because we don't need to have any food or energy, and being that they can't influence it, that's what they use as core. Housing news, the National Case-Shiller Home Price Index. We've got that one for you. If you're watching us on ronsiegelradio.tv, any of our socials, the ABC News and Talk video feed, we've got the Case-Shiller Home Price Index. It's showing for the month of April. Case-Shiller does good stuff looking backwards. They're not always the most current because they're always a little bit delayed. Previous month, 2.1% appreciation. Previous year, the year-over-year number is up 20.4%. Top cities Monthly is a Miami. Annually, Tampa. Guess Florida is a good place to be. FHFA. I like this one better because it measures. It doesn't have as much skewing to higher priced properties. So FHFA came out 1.6 month over month, 18.8 year over year. And on the West Coast, we're still running real high. 1.4 on the West Coast, 18.9 year over year. All these reports are basically saying what we've been telling you right along is that property, the real estate is still growing dramatically. It's gonna slow down. Remember, Chapman told us that it's gonna drop by 12%. Some places don't see that, but that's what we're looking at right now. I don't know. We do need to slow down. Remember that housing prices go up during a recession, but they do tend to lag, is what happens. They tend to lag a bit in to the interest rates. So usually about the middle part of a recession is when we see that's when we're actually going to see the house prices drop off. That is the Mortgage Minute, brought to you by our friends at Geneva Financial. When you're ready for that next home loan, Geneva's got the programs and the products. You just need to make the call, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Todd Halterman is with us. He is one of our Borrow Smart advisors. Like that term, Todd, borrow smart. I mean, we don't have everybody borrowing smart.
That's right.
So tell me a little bit. What have you been up to? I know we talked about a month ago when you were on the broadcast with us, and we were chatting about actuaries and how these smart guys are able to figure out how to pay off our debt quickly, even our mortgage debt.
It is inspiring to get up every morning and go to work and really make a difference in people's lives. That's something that's tangible that they can believe in, Ron. I manage millions of dollars for families, but I get more satisfaction every morning when I'm helping people write the last check for their debts. It's better than any win in the stock market.
You know, that's an exciting discussion because there are so many people out there that just don't believe they can be debt free. And nobody puts out a roadmap for that. I know there's a couple of guys on radio that'll put out these roadmaps, and I submit most of them are being unrealistic. You know, talking about a roadmap of debt-free living in Southern California, when you're talking about a 15-year mortgage on $1 million house, most people can't afford a 15-year mortgage.
No, and you know, the 15-year rates haven't been affected too much, as you know, as of recent. But reality is most advocates out there helping people eliminate debt subscribe to the philosophy of pain. And pain meaning cut all the extra things in your life and start focusing on one item, kill that item, get it paid off, and move that over to the next. And in theory, that sounds great, but in actual application, only about 30% of people that approach it with that demeanor finish. And we want 100% success.
Yeah, exactly. And from what you've talked about in the past, are you talking about having to, you know, stop going out to eat, stop filling up my car with gas, stop going to work? Are those all part of this program?
Yeah, the considerations, honestly, Ron, are we don't want families to have to spend or save any more money than they spend or save right now. We want to work with people to help them understand the proper place to put their cash flow. A lot of people go to a CPA to get a tax return done, you know, in the theory of the CPA is going to do it better. So when it comes to actuarial tables and cash flow analysis, a doctor in science and math helps you understand where to apply your money monthly. So we love showing people how to not spend any more than they spend right now, and they get out of debt in 9 years or less. And if they qualify, it's guaranteed.
So how, sometimes things sound too good to be true, Todd. How are you going to get them out of debt in 9 years or yes? I mean, I've got, you got $1 million mortgage and I only earn, $120,000 a year, hypothetically, or $150,000 a year. The math, you start looking at it and say, okay, how do I pay off $1 million mortgage if I'm earning, 1.2, 1.3.
You bet. Well, there's a couple things going on in people's lives. They have contribution rates into retirement plans. They have savings into their own checking and savings. They apply money to a student loan. They apply extra money to an auto payment. They're applying a little bit extra to their mortgage. So they're working on getting out of debt because that's the spirit of their life and how they want to live. But here's the deal, Ron. They are not being efficient or effective at getting those gone in the right manner. So we help people look at how they're paying those monthly payments and how they're living, and we help them redirect funds so that they're looking at an opportunity to not spend any more than they spend right now, but literally get them out of debt in 9.3 years or less is what we're averaging. That includes mortgages and student loans.
So that's obviously a toughie right now. Is do we really even want to be paying off a student loan?
No, right now, honestly, the student loan advocates out there, we need to stop and wait to see what things are going to happen here in the country. But setting that aside, it's really exciting to show somebody without spending more how their mortgage, their credit card, their automobile loans, all gone. Usually we get most unsecured debt like credit cards done in about the 20th month in the program. About 36 to 42 months to get the automobiles gone. And then we compound that into just taking the mortgage out.
Now, right now, obviously, it's probably better to, 3 months ago, 4 months ago, you and I were talking, and there was a big opportunity for arbitrage between a mortgage payment and a return on investment.
Sure.
Right now, is that opportunity still there? Are the investments, or maybe we have to even stay away from the market in investments? What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm not a big advocate of taking money out of a home and then putting it into a gamble market, but there is arbitrage with what I'll call insurance trusts that can create growth and tax-free returns at a guaranteed rate superior to what their debt structure on the mortgage is going to be. This is a great way for people who want to build tax-free income during their retirement, can fund a tax-free agreement. It's like a Roth on steroids. So we can use the tools to help people retire smart and use the cash flow properly to get out of debt.
You love the idea, and I'm going to suggest that I'll give you a guarantee right now, and we don't do a lot of guaranteeing on Ron Siegel Radio, but I'm going to guarantee that if you don't call Todd, his program will not work for you.
That's a good one.
If you call Todd, it might work for you. I don't know if it will or not, right? That we don't guarantee that it will. Now, I don't know a lot of people that are so I don't know if the right word is not smart, but they can beat the system, I guess is the best way of putting it. Most people can't beat the system.
Right.
So the bottom line here is if you give it a shot, it might work. If you don't try it, it guaranteed it won't work. And like I've said in many other programs that we talk about on Ron Siegel Radio, the key to it is exploring. The key to it is education. Make that conversation. I know that we'll put in a little bit, we'll put a link to Todd's calendar. So you can actually make an appointment, spend 10 or 15 minutes with him, get him some initial information, and you'll be able to find out real quick, does it work for you? And do you want it to, more importantly, do you want it to work for you? Right? There's some people out there that, you can lead them to water and they just don't want to drink. They'd rather go thirsty. So the bottom line here is give us a call at 800-306-1990. We'll put you in touch with Todd Halterman. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate current events and the financial markets. A key opportunity for home buyers. Talk about it. 5 ways to cope with inflation. We'll talk about that one. You can reach me anytime. Our off-air number, it's 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com, facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Is your budget getting blown up with high prices of gas and increased costs for other household needs? This is Ron Siegel, host of the daily home and finance radio program. Did you know if you have a low interest rate mortgage along with auto debt, credit card debt, or student loans, your family could potentially save $500 or more per month by restructuring these debts? If you'd like a free Borrow Smart analysis with our team, let's book an appointment to see how we might be able to relieve some stress. Schedule your appointment at rsrbsa.com. That's rsrbsa.com for your free Borrow Smart analysis. rsrbsa.com.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions, as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. A key opportunity for home buyers. There's no denying the housing market has delivered a fair share of challenges to home buyers over the past 2 years. Two of the biggest hurdles home buyers faced during the pandemic were the limited number of homes for sale and the intensity and frequency of bidding wars. But those two things have reached a turning point. As you may have already heard, the number of homes for sale has increased this year and even more so this spring, as Danielle Hale, chief economist for Realtor.com, explains, quote, new listings, a measure of sellers putting homes up for sale, were up 6% above 1 year ago. Home sellers in many markets across the country continue to benefit from rising home prices and fast-selling homes. That's prompted a growing number of homes owners to sell homes this year compared to last, giving home shoppers much-needed options, unquote. This is encouraging news. More homes coming onto the market give you a greater chance of finding that checks all your boxes. Buyer competition, moderating helps inventory grow even more. Mark Fleming, chief economist at First American, says inventory growth is happening not just because there's an increase in the number of listings coming onto the market, but also because buyer demand has moderated some in light of higher mortgage rates and other economic factors. Quote, there has been a pickup in inventory that we've seen recently, but it's not from a big increase in new listings, but rather a slowdown in the pace of sales. And remember that month supply measures the inventory of sale relative to the pace of sales. Same inventory, fewer sales means more months supply, unquote. Basically, the market is shifting away from the frenzy of buyer competition seen during the pandemic, and that's helping available inventory growth. In the latest forecast, Realtor.com also mentions the moderation of demand as a key factor and projects the inventory growth should continue. Quote, as rising inflation and mortgage rates bring U.S. housing demand back from 2021 frenzy, inventory will grow double digits over 2021 and offer buyers a better than expected chance to find a home, unquote. How this impacts you, the combination of more homes coming onto the market and a slower pace of home sales means you'll have more options to choose from as you search for your next home. That's great news if you've been searching for a while with little to no luck. Just remember, there isn't a sudden surplus of inventory, just more homes to choose from than even a few months ago. So you'll still want to be decisive and move fast when you find the right home for you. And when you do, you may be faced with less competition from other buyers too. If you've been waiting to jump into the market because of the intensity of bidding wars was intimidating, or if you've been outbid on several homes, this moderation could help make the home buying process a bit smoother. It's not that it'll be easier, that bidding wars are a thing of the past. That's not the case, but it won't feel nearly as impossible. Bottom line, as the housing market begins to shift, and it is, we just saw a report this last Monday that actually showed we've got more homes for sale on the market Monday than there was at any time last year. With moderating levels of buyer competition, more homes actively for sale, your home search may have gotten a bit less challenging. Let's connect. Give us a call. We'll chat about it, see if we can get a property for you. Remember, we've got our payment assistance program. And as always, I ask if you have any friends, family, or coworkers looking to buy, sell, or borrow on real estate, can I count on you for the introduction? Continue our conversation. Todd Halterman is in the house, and we're actually he's in his house or his office. We're chatting with Todd. He's up there in Idaho, and we're down here in Southern California. having our chat about saving people money. And I love the concept of how to help people meet their goals. As you know, I am not a big fan of paying off a mortgage. I think there's way too high risk. But I also am well aware that there are a lot of people that like the idea of having that option or the opportunity. If it was me, I'd rather have that money in a side account. Just throw that out there. But I know there's people that want to have their home paid off. But Todd, how do you address this part? Because I talk to folks all the time, and I've had a few families that we've consulted with lately where they've got a paid off property. Now they're cash poor and they don't have the wherewithal to refinance right now into these higher rates. So they're equity rich and cash poor. How do you square that one?
It all comes down to having a real financial plan and how they really want to live. What do they want to do? Are they unhappy with their current income level? And could they utilize that asset in a different way? People get emotionally attached to things, Ron. So especially with land, they enjoy the win. That's something they can talk about all the time. We bought that for $35,000. We're selling it for $500. It's fun to talk about. If they sell it and move on to something else, it's unknown. Like I'm hearing some feedback, maybe coming in from your audio.
Yeah, Josh just told me that I'm feeding back somehow.
It's my booming voice. So reality is, Ron, people just need to look at their real goal. Is it income? Is it growth? Is it bragging rights? What is it they're trying to do in their life with this asset? And frankly, there's good debt and bad debt. And on real estate, if you live in it, if you can have your debt at a 50% or lower on a home, then it's arbitrage right now, because you want to be able to use that cash in your life also, right? And I love building tax-free income plans for people, and that's how we help them win. Yep. I think so. I believe Ron is muted at this time, for all of you out in radio land. But I'll tell you right now, to get rid of your debt and have debt elimination today is absolutely the way to go into retirement. And 9 years or less, you can find yourself not having the debt you had and not spending more than you're spending right now.
Okay, am I back?
Hey, Ron.
So somebody, they've been trying to mute me for years, and I guess it worked every once in a while.
Silence is golden.
That's it. Whatever. Now, hopefully my wife's not listening right now. Otherwise, she's going to call Josh and say, "Can you do that again?" Okay, so we've talked a little bit about those things. Now, Todd, I know that one of the other subjects that you frequently are counseling people on is the idea of, there's a lot of people right now that are, and I'm going to suggest there's a lot of people right now that are thinking about getting out of the stock market. Probably not the best idea in the world. I'm not giving financial advice. I know you're not either, but they've had enough, and there's some people out there saying we may see the market drop another 30%. Is there a way that I could sell a highly appreciated asset right now and not have to worry about some of the capital gains consequences when we close?
Yeah, we've been doing a lot of that over the last couple of years. Land, business, even just some kind of real estate holding itself. We've been helping people when they have highly appreciated stock, they have highly appreciated real estate, lands, sell that asset, Ron, and not pay tax at closing and be able to defer that and use all that capital in their life for their next chapter. And there's many people who their value of their real estate, their rental real estate went up so much they can't raise the rent enough to really give a great return on investment anymore. So they've been selling that land and doubling their income over what they were receiving in rent. And of course, not having the tenants, toilets, and trash. So people like that option. They like to go to Costa Rica and Cabo and hang out a little bit instead of managing the rentals.
That's an interesting concept there. So we're going to sell the property and double our the amount of money that we've got coming in?
Yeah, the last couple that I helped, they had 4 different rental properties, 2 of them residential, 1 commercial, and 1 mixed land use. And over a series of 18 months, they built up a multi-million-dollar business account that their income almost doubled from what they were making net rent, having them as rental real estate, based on the way we set up their accounts.
Now, I think it was last week we did a program with a family an agent, and he was talking about the idea that somebody wanted to do what you're talking about, but they ended up being the landlord, or they carried the note for the buyers.
Yeah.
Is that something that's doable in what you're talking about?
Yeah, and the challenge with carrying a note for buyers is you become the bank and you're dependent upon their ability to pay you on that note, and you don't have control of the company anymore. So imagine a scenario, it's not just rent for a building, but you have no control of your company. If they decide to not pay you, you got to go to court to get it back. Meanwhile, you're trying to live on that money. Oh, and you don't have access to any of the principal cash either. And if that company or person gets caught up in a lawsuit or litigation, then your life in retirement is frozen. So as long as you don't mind being a creditor and it's not going to devastate your life if the income stops for a while and you got to go to court. But other than that, we tell people to get their cash at closing. We can set them up so they don't pay taxes at closing, and they can be liquid with cash, and they don't have to do a 1031.
It's a lot of, that sounds like it's, why don't we hear about this more often? It sounds like it's all, new stuff.
Well, 2 things. It's interesting to find CPAs that specialize in it. And if a CPA doesn't specialize in it, or they don't know it very well, they become cautious and, how I'll say, afraid of it. So people just aren't used to working with accountants that specialize in trust accounting and how to use those tax laws to their advantage. But Ron, this was widely known in the agricultural world 100 years ago, in 1913, I believe. In the 1950s, when the last time we had seriously high inflation, the same thing happened, and the intermediate installment sale trust law was updated to the way it's worked today. And that means we use an old agricultural law that is now adopted widespread in all channels of appreciated assets to help people defer the tax and not be a creditor for the person buying the business.
Got another one of those things that you just don't know what you don't know. And as I'm almost using this on a regular basis now, Todd. You can get advice. You have to pay for advice. But if you want good advice, it might cost you a little bit extra. And maybe it'll get you a lot further in the long run. So just a thought right there for you. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate current events and the financial markets. When we come back, we've got a Borrow Smart segment. 5 ways to cope with inflation. Borrow Smart. Reach me anytime. Off air number 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube. Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Do you know a homeowner experiencing divorce? Do you know a real estate reference and the divorce decree could cost tens of thousands of dollars? A certified divorce mortgage planning and real estate report could save you thousands of dollars, and it's free from your local certified divorce lending professional. Reach out to Ron today. RonIsMyLender.com. Again, RonIsMyLender.com. Licensed under NMLS 217037, Equal Housing Lender.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The Borrow Smart segment brought to you by the National Institute of Financial Education. 5 ways to cope with inflation. In 2022, inflation in the United States climbed to a 40-year high. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the term inflation describes the overall trend of price increases on goods and services within an economy. U.S. consumers are feeling the impact of higher prices in many areas, from grocery and gas transactions to home and auto purchases. If you're trying to figure out how to manage increased costs in your budget, the 5 tips I will share right now may provide you some inspiration. Number 1, update your budget. At its core, a budget is a plan how you'll spend the money you earn. Yet many people fail to realize that a budget is like a living, breathing document. You need to tweak and update your monthly financial plan on a regular basis for it to do its job. With inflation, you're likely to see an increase in several different spending categories, and when spending increases occur, you'll need to find a way to manage them. You might have another area of your budget where you could spend less to accommodate for the extra money you're spending on groceries, gas, or elsewhere. For example, you could consider shopping for better priced groceries, using coupons, driving less, or finding other ways to combat the impact of higher prices. Number 2, negotiate your bills or switch providers. Cutting expenses in one area could help you free up some extra cash to use in another spending category. And one great way to cut expenses is to ask service providers if they're willing to accept less money by negotiating your bill. Insurance companies, mobile phone providers, and even utility companies might be open to reducing your monthly bill if you call and make the request. If you found a competitor that offers a better rate for a similar service, make sure you mention that detail on the phone call. In some cases, switching to a better priced provider might make more sense, and you can consider dropping non-essential services altogether, reduce your overall monthly expenses. Number 3, pay down debt. High interest debt can put a strain on your budget in the best of times. But when inflation has your finances stretched thinner than usual, eliminating expensive debt becomes even more important than usual. It may seem counterintuitive to increase your debt payments at the same time your budget is stretched by inflation. But if you can make some temporary sacrifices to pay down high-cost debt, it could pay off in the long run. Eliminating credit card debt in particular could help you in multiple ways. Owing less credit card debt could free up extra money in your budget, increase your putting your hard-earned dollars toward interest fees. You could apply those funds to other areas that could improve your life. Plus, paying down credit card debt has the potential to impact your FICO score in a positive way if you reduce your credit utilization ratio. Number 4, manage rent increases. Households across the country are facing rent increases. According to Redfin, between March 2021 and March 2022, rents rose by an average of 17%. Wow. Ow! To an average of $1,940 a month, a record high. A rent hike can be stressful, especially if the new rent rate won't fit into your budget. If you find yourself in the situation, there are a few options to consider. First, you can search rent-related regulation in your area. The National Multifamily Housing Council has a list of rent control laws by state, and there are no laws in your area to protect you from unaffordable rent increases. You could also see if you qualify for any rental assistance programs. Number 5, increase your income. Another possible way to combat the impact that inflation has on your finances is to increase your income. There are a few strategies that might help you accomplish this goal, and the first is asking for a raise. One tip for negotiating a higher salary is to do some research in advance. If your employer isn't willing to increase your salary, you could entertain the possibility of looking for a higher paying job. Maybe you'll even look for a second job, side hustle. Bottom line, inflation raising costs make it difficult for many households to meet their financial obligations. Yet, depending on your situation, the 5 strategies that I mentioned could be helpful. That is the Borrow Smart segment, brought to you by the National Institute of Financial Education. Continue our conversation with Todd Halterman. So, Todd, let's chat about some of the things that were in the report there. What are your thoughts if I have, and on average, I think the number is $30,000 in credit card debt, and I can go out and get $30,000 worth of unsecured debt from other sources, maybe even some of those balance transfer programs. Is that a strategy that I can use in conjunction with what you're talking about? Because all I'm really doing is decreasing my interest rate,
Right.
but I still want to get paid off of that 20 months that you talked about earlier.
Well, anytime we can consolidate for a lower cost to the family, it's something to be considered. The only time I would disagree with that is if somebody's on a fixed term schedule of a loan, and that loan's at the end of its cycle where 95% of its principal and very little's interest. So first thing you do is consolidate loans that are in its amortization schedule early and that are higher interest. Now, when somebody says it's 6% interest, Ron, the first 5 years, it's not 6%. So it's really important that people look at where they're at in their loan cycle and their especially unsecured credit, because it can be in the 20s. So yes, absolutely consolidate, make it simple for yourselves, and be smart with your borrowing.
So what Todd's talking about there is something that we do on a regular basis, looking at something called the EPR. So when you're talking about the early stages, think about your mortgage, right? If you look at an amortization schedule on your mortgage, in the early years, the vast majority is going to interest. Later years, you're getting very little going to interest. Do you think the interest rate changed? No, the interest rate itself didn't change, but the effective percentage rate is what's changed, because you're paying interest on a larger sum or a smaller sum down the road. So that's kind of the way these things work. Now, if you want to go and get the math degree and the doctorate and all that stuff, you can do that. I personally, it's not my cup of tea. It's a lot easier just to call Todd and say, Todd, we need to look at my debts and my schedule and say, how do I get out of all this stuff? That basically what we're talking about here, Todd?
Yeah, and we have a team of people that are doctors of finance and mathematics that literally have dedicated their life to helping people manage their money better in a proactive way instead of waiting till there's problems. We can help people who want to be proactive.
So you didn't even have to go to get that doctorate of math either then?
I was taught a long time ago by a man named Henry Ford. If you don't know how, go find the guy that does.
Hire people that are smarter than you.
Yes, sir.
Right. That's the bottom line. And you and I have fun because we get to go out and try and talk to people.
Yes.
Right. The guys with I don't even know if we see this anymore. The guys with the green visors. Josh, does anybody know about the green visors anymore?
Wow.
Okay. So I date myself sometimes. So I have to ask Josh sometimes these questions to see if the next generations know about the guy with the green visor. So you guys are out there, you're dealing with those guys with the green visor, and you and I just get to talk to people.
Yes. And, honestly, where the real rubber meets the road is learning the problems people face and knowing which experts to bring in to actually give them a solution and not sell them something they don't need.
That's important, especially when we're listening to some of our elected officials right now who are giving us, skewed information, I guess is the best way to put it. When we look at the Federal Reserve and they say we're not going to have a recession, or we're going to look at inflation, but we're not going to count food and energy. Well, I don't know about you, but a couple of the biggest items in my budget are food and energy. The one that they count, one of the smallest items that they do leave into the inflation numbers is housing. And I don't know about you, but I like to have a roof over my head. Right? It costs a little extra, but I like a roof over my head. So the items that they minimize, we have to deal with on a maximum basis. And if you remember, I told you yesterday that Chapman University in their economic forecast, they've stepped outside the box, and they're now using their forecast to predict what the most important things are for people and what they vote on. So when they came up with their prediction or their forecast that we're going to see a 53-seat swing in the United States House of Representatives this November, the number one item they use in their forecast that they used correlating and backtesting, gas prices. And we're paying a lot in gas prices. They're going up. We need to talk to someone like Todd to help us with our budget, right? That maybe we're putting the money on the credit card. I'm not sure we want to be putting it on the credit card. There's better ways, right, Todd?
The key is the cash flow management, and a lot of folks just are doing the best they know how. Sometimes it just takes a fresh set of eyes, Ron.
There you go. What's that link? I don't have it in front of me, Todd. The link to get on your calendar.
At the calendlylink.com. Well, just honestly, go to Todd at toddhalterman.com, TODD at TODDHALTERMAN.com, and just click on contact, and my office will get a hold of you immediately to get you a 10-minute chat with me on the schedule.
Sounds perfect. Todd at toddhalterman.com. And as always, I ask you, set that first radio preset button to come back here and join Ron Siegel Radio, where we only speak about items affecting your house and your bank account. Thanks to all of our sponsors. A big special thanks to Josh and Sean who are engineering us today. And of course, a special thanks to you for spending a little bit of time with us. That's all for Ron Siegel Radio. Again, if you have any questions or to meet any of our guests, call me anytime, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. And remember, make a lot of money so you can help a lot of people and have a lot of fun. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next time on Ron Siegel Radio.